What's up, Internet? We're back here at Nerd Alert. I'm Brandon. I'm with Jimmy and James. And there they are, just waiting for me to speak. So,
Brandon,
you guys
what?
you guys were asking about some comic stuff, and I was going to kind of let you in on some new things going on or books you should be reading. And first off, we have got The Amazing Spider-Man 61. This one is the new jumping on point. Beautiful, wonderful art by Ed McGuinness, which is outstanding. But this is now the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. There was an event called Blood Hunt a couple months ago where vampires overtook the MCU, and I don't know. I've never really been a big vampire fan in the comics. Don't know why. They just always seem like an odd fit. But the end result of that was that Doctor Strange gave up the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme to Doctor Doom. And he was like, you can have the mantle until you save the world. But as soon as you save the world, you're giving it back to me. And Doom was like, hey, okay, buddy. And they shook on it, right? And then at the end, he was like, hey, man, the world's saved. He's like, the world has not even begun to being saved. I have to really save it. So I will give this back when I'm totally finished. Wow. And as part of it, Spider-Man has now been brought into battle the Guardians of Sidorak, like the gem of Sidorak, the Juggernaut gets his powers from or whatever. But he's been he has these reeds that every time he's killed, he will come back. He has to defeat them. And honestly, if Marvel's going to continue to not give us what we want with Peter Parker, as far as like back to that status quo of Mary Jane and everything like that, I like these stories. This is a really cool jumping on point if you're looking for stuff. And this is all leading up to, I think it's called All Hail Doom, which is going to be not only an event book, but the like status quo for Marvel going into next year is that Doom has made himself leader of Earth. Like on our planet. So it isn't like a reimagining like Secret Wars or anything like that. Doom is like, I'm Sorcerer Supreme. The last Sorcerer Supreme, that guy, he sucked. He didn't do anything he's supposed to. So the only way to bring world peace is to unify everybody under me, remain in control of the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme. So and I don't know if they had this planned up, or in talks originally, but I think ever since they changed the idea of the Kang dynasty stuff to Doom, that now they're getting a bigger focus on the comics of Doom.
That makes sense.
And I mean, Doom's a badass, right?
Well, and Brandon, that's where I appreciate you mentioned that. I, as you know, love reading comic books, but then get to a point where I get too busy or what have you and can't keep up with the monthlies. So then I lose track of where I was. And then all of a sudden there's a new story and I don't know where to jump back in. But you just saying there's a great point to jump back in. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's really like I said, brand new run there. And he's got this super cool new costume that was Jack Kirby inspired. So, of course, I was into that off the bat. But yeah, I don't know.
People is watching us too because they're like, oh, you guys don't like us torturing Peter? Well, let's kill him off 8 times. That's cool.
Let's continue to murder him. I am toying with a segment. I'm trying to look up like incidents and storylines and stuff. But I think I want to do a reoccurring segment of the worst things Marvel has done to Peter Parker. Because
that's his entire existence.
I know. And the world needs to be more aware, though, of the abuse this man has continually gone through. Story arc after story arc after story arc after story arc.
It's nice though because they picked on him when he was a kid too. They didn't just wait till he was an adult.
No.
He was a kid. His whole life. Yeah, I mean, he didn't even have parents. Like what?
I mean, it's so funny to me. He was a little shit before he became Spider-Man, and even when he did, before Ben died, he was an asshole. It's like,
well, I mean, because he got picked on at school all the time, and he was like, "Now I have superpowers." Like everyone kissed my ass. That's an interesting
question. If he knew what his history was going to be, his future, and he was able to get a choice, would he continue just to be the nerdy kid in school with 0 powers, or would he accept the powers and all the shit that went with it?
See, that's why Spider-Man's the best, and that's why I always stand by Peter Parker, because he would still choose to go through everything because he knows he saved people's lives.
What if they made clones of him so there could be more good Spider-Man out there.
You mean that also goes into the worst things that have happened to Peter Parker.
Hey,
was trying to destroy his entire existence and pretend that he was a clone the entire time.
This conversation is going to go on forever. I just wish we had
It sure is. So what we're going to do?
1 day more.
One more day. You just had one more day to talk about it.
one more day.
That was also a big middle finger. To more Marvel comics, though, the Ultimates right now is outstanding. A while back, Jonathan Hickman was given the reins to bring back the Ultimate Universe, and although I love Jonathan Hickman, like I was apprehensive, and then I saw Jonathan Hickman attached to it, so I was less apprehensive, but I was still like, do we need an Ultimate Universe? And this has just been so good. Like he does a really good job of just kind of retelling everything as it was like ruined by the maker, and now everyone's trying to get back on their feet. You also have Ultimate Spider-Man, which has been great. They just announced Ultimate Wolverine, where he is actually the Winter Soldier experiment. So he's Logan, but he's been experimented on, and he's basically been their like hired killer for,
by way of Canada?
No, by Russia.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
No, what they did is they slid his corpse, his unconscious body across the ice bridge that forms in the winter and gave him to Russia.
Yeah, because you can see. Well, that's Alaska that you can see him from.
Close enough.
Hey, Brandon, can you guess which parts of this are going to be cut out? Love you, son.
That was good.
Hickman. I love Hickman. Just about everything he does. He did the run on Hawkeye.
Yeah,
that was so good.
No, that was Fraction, Matt Fraction.
No, what was it? X-Men?
No, he did X-Men and Fantastic Four. Hickman was the Krakoa era.
That's what it was. He just like reinvented the X-Men in a way that, which I mean, they've been around for like 80 years, so it's really hard to do. And it was like, dude, he totally reimagined the X-Men and like really brought me back into the X-Men world. I'm like, this is fascinating. And what they did with Moira, I was like, dude, I did not see that coming. That was awesome.
That was such a cool twist.
Yeah.
That was such an amazing twist. But yeah. I'm also kind of disappointed that they got rid of it. And I was like, I think you can keep things status quo for longer than a couple years now. Like,
yeah.
But why do that when you can ruin everything?
I feel like the X-Books have taken a hit since Krakoa ended. And it kind of feels like filler right now to me. No offense to anybody writing the issues. It just feels like they're holding back the X-Men, because I think when the mutant stuff gets announced, they'll bring everything back to status quo. And
that makes sense. I mean, they literally have synergy wise, Fantastic Four they got to focus on, and
yeah,
what you're saying with the other comics to promote what they're going to be doing in the movies, and X-Men are not top of their mind right now.
No.
So we can expect a 12-issue Rulk series coming out soon.
Oh my God, you'd have to assume.
I did read that, not to go way off, in the recent release or whatever, maybe it was a scissor reel, that Red Hulk has a much bigger part in Brave New World than has been teased at with the earlier trailers.
Really?
I was like, I don't know if that's good or bad.
I feel like from the first trailer that we saw, they've definitely touched up the graphics as well. Like the reveal they did looks great. I'm totally here for that.
Sorry, I sidetracked it. Go on to the next one.
No, you're good. Next up, we have part of the All In initiative from DC, but the Absolute lines, which is Absolute Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman so far. They are doing an Absolute Martian Manhunter and an Absolute Flash as well. But this is basically spinning out of the All In one shot. Darkseid remakes Earth into, what if the heroes never were born with the advantages that they were born with? Like Bruce Wayne wasn't born with money. Superman, like he doesn't get like basically nobody's getting the support that they had. Like, are these people still going to be heroes without that? And it's just been a really cool take on stuff. Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta are doing Absolute Batman, which is outstanding. Absolute Superman by Jason Aaron. Such a good first issue here. It just reads really well, and I'm excited to see what happens. And it's Rafa Sandoval, who is an outstanding artist. And then Absolute Wonder Woman by Kelly Thompson. Basically, Wonder Woman is taken from the mascara, the Amazons are punished and banished, and no one can actually speak the word Amazon anymore except for her. But she's sent to hell and is raised by Cersei. So not only is she a warrior, but she's like a bunch of black magic and
I am an
that.
emissary from hell. Prepare to
Yeah.
That's what's fascinating about DC is like the movies, for the most part, are just not even worth watching, and definitely not rewatching. But the comics are just about always good. I really, and the animated stuff they put out, but the comics always, it's like, where do the writers go when you guys try and make motion picture? Because I don't know how you can have great source material and it just doesn't translate to your live action stuff.
Yeah,
The comics are awesome.
They need to bring the comic book writers on the movies, because clearly the writers they've been bringing on aren't doing anything.
Well, that's where I don't know exactly what happened, but they made a huge announcement that Jeff Johns was doing that. He was taking over a huge role of the film, and we just got more of the Snyderverse. And I'm like, I don't know if they just shut him down. I don't know what happened.
He just like showed up and was like, yeah, it's fine. Just keep it going that way.
I know. It's like, yeah, just give me the money. That's fine. I'll go back and write one of the best story arcs for Aquaman of all characters. But no, don't worry about the
movies. Movies are fine. Don't worry about them.
Yeah.
It's not like he hasn't written an insane Superman story before, you know, like he is.
Green Lantern, anybody?
Yeah. I mean, any of that. But
and maybe the point is DC doesn't want to pay royalties for things that have already happened in the comics, so they just come up with new stupid ideas, so they just pay a bad writer. I don't know.
It's just so weird because like when you watch Marvel movies, like even something like The Winter Soldier, like you are taking from the source material, you're still honoring it, but you're bending it in a way that makes sense for the movies. And I don't know if like the suspension of disbelief is too hard for people with DC because of someone like Superman. Like when you have God as your main character, like it's kind of hard to put like, here's Batman who can get killed by a punch from this person. So I don't know if it's like, I don't know. I can't figure it out either. But you're
there
right.
Was some great. I think it was Rebirth when they reintroduced Superman, and I get it because there are different dimensions and different versions of him. But with his son and his and Lois, and telling sort of the family side of things, it was far more engaging than pretty much most of the Superman films we've seen.
Yeah.
And plus they had Mr. Mixoplex. Anytime you bring that dude in, I'm down.
That dude's a handful.
Love it.
No.
When he showed up on Super Friends back in the day, I knew it was going to be a good episode.
You knew you were getting into some wacky hijinks there.
He's just a goofy little guy.
Till tip season. Isn't that how you say his name backwards or whatever? I remember from the animated series, but yeah. The last one I'm bringing up, and this is just a hope that it catches on this time, but JSA is a new number one. And as I call them, they are the Muppets of comic books. They are a group with a gigantic following that everybody claims to love, but just cannot get anything really going in the modern day. And it disappoints me because just like the Muppets, they're a really awesome team. But this is a new number one. I love the JSA. I think everyone should pick this up. And they're doing more. This is more the generational team now.
Who are they focusing on now?
You have like the old team. You have like Wildcat, Green Lantern, Alan Scott, Jay Garrick Flash, some regulars that have appeared throughout the JSA with that. But they also have like a younger Dr. Midnight, a younger Wildcat, a younger Dr. Fate. And it's just they're trying to, with the Justice League now. Justice League is a book that comes out, I think, in December. I'm really excited for it, but they're finally doing what like I think we've all been waiting for since watching like Justice League Unlimited. But like that's going to be the status quo. Everyone is in the Justice League. Everyone has been invited. They're operating out of the satellite. It's all of a more unified front, so it's going to be a lot more people showing up in the books.
That makes sense.
They're working alongside, but they're also kind of doing like street level or like more like JSA centric stuff. Like they know the Justice League exists and they're there to help, but they're not going to be like they're going to be doing their own stuff. But
I like when they do that, going to Justice League, what you were saying, having everybody involved. I don't remember if it was Rebirth, New 52, or where, but when the team got like decimated and they were like trying out new people, and elongated man showed up, and they're like, no, I think we're good. I'm like, that's the humor we need, DC. I loved it. And just having more of those inclusion. I mean, yeah, obviously they're making fun of them, but who doesn't?
I listen. Elongated man gets a bad rap. I love Ralph Didney a lot, but yeah. I mean, I want a book where I'm seeing more people. Like they all exist, so it's going to be cool to see like different people team up with different teams that they haven't before. And it's sorry, kick that. But like they talk about it too. Like Wally leaves the Titans to go to the Justice League, and he's like, we're still going to work with each other just through the Justice League. I'm not going to just hang out with you guys because I'm needed more. But it's cool that like the Titans are involved, the Teen Titans are involved. Like I don't know if the Doom Patrol is going to be brought in because you see in the All In issue, Cliff Robot Man is like, I'm already on a team, and a few people like scoff their head at the Justice League. But I don't know. I'm excited for a lot of this All In stuff. I hope it's like a big. I feel like the last few events with DC and Marvel kind of just go by the wayside. So I'm hoping with this and with the Doom thing in Marvel that it's more focused. Because remember, like back in the day, it was always like the big 8-issue arc and all these tie-ins and all this other stuff. And now it just feels like they kind of just show up. So
I'm having a tough time with my memory in that. Am I forgetting there was a bunch of horrible books and I'm only remembering the good ones? Or are they really pushing out crossovers like every single month? And it's just like, that's what made it special, is that it was a big deal that all these things came together versus, hey, let's do another crossover this month. It's like, okay.
That's what it feels like. It just feels like this month there's this book and it's kind of tying into these people. And then when it ends, like it felt like more stuff was leading up to the events back in the day than it is now. And I'm hoping that that's what we're getting back to with both publishers.
And I guess it was more back at least in the 90s, it was just offshoots that had those team ups like Wolverine and Gambit, like Spawn and Batman. They were just weird one-offs that had nothing to do with the normal storyline. Whereas I feel like nowadays it's like you have a storyline and all of a sudden Punisher shows up and you're like, what are you doing here?
Frank, why are you fighting God?
You're releasing a new book too? Okay, let's get you some readers and slide them over there. I don't know. I'm being cynical, I guess, but yeah.
No, I don't think you're wrong. Like I said, that's why I'm hoping this is just like a big return to what we're used to, like a bigger event, bigger feel, like bigger implications.
Yeah,
with everything. Because I also feel like after every event now, when they hand stuff off, and new writers like, I'm just going to throw out the last
complete reboot.
8 to 12 months of this and do what I want. And it's like, well, then why the fuck are we bothering?
And see, that's one of the reasons why I stopped reading again. Is I really enjoyed the New 52. Just about every book was interesting. I really enjoyed that. Then Rebirth happened, and it was like, well, okay, I guess that didn't happen. But then all of a sudden it was tying in with some of those, because then we got to I forgot the actual name, the Countdown or whatever it was with Dr. Manhattan. I'm like, oh, I like how you brought this back.
Doomsday Clock, yeah,
Doomsday Clock. And then it was like, oh, we're just resetting again anyway because nobody can figure out how to tie all that back in together. I'm like, I am so confused. I'm already old. Why are you guys confusing me with what the hell is real and not real and dimensional? And why is Wolverine?
Well,
I don't know.
That was the whole thing with Doomsday Clock, is it basically brought back the JSA.
Yeah.
And then there's a 12-issue JSA series that came out that takes place on Earth 2 rather than New Earth. And I'm just like, why? Like, what do we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Doomsday was awesome how they did that, and the interaction between Flash and, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Batman, but it was it Thomas Wayne? Am I mixing these storylines up?
No, that's Flashpoint.
That's Flashpoint, but that still ties into.
It did tie in.
I met your dad, and it was like, dude, like, I'm tearing up because this was so awesome that you have Batman. Obviously has parent issues. Similarly with Barry having parent issues, and just them being able to connect, and they're both detectives, even though Barry somehow can't plan as advanced as Batman, because Batman can never be defeated in Brandon's eyes. So it was just really cool how these things.
It's in continuity. That's in continuity. Continuity that he never really loses. But no, so that's what led into the New 52.
Okay.
Was Flashpoint.
Well, no, what I'm talking about is yes, but then the Doomsday brought that back with the was it
Thomas Wayne stuff?
Yeah.
It was just a big overarching story that did play back into it, but it also felt like not enough Like all the other titles just continued as they continued with that.
That's where I got confused too, because it was like, wait, I thought this was affecting the whole universe here, and then it wasn't.
Hold on, did my thing mess up?
Please make Brandon vertical again.
Hi, Brandon.
Hold on, what happened?
Sideways?
I'll be honest, Brandon. Usually our bloopers are you saying or doing something, but now it's
That was weird.
technology.
That was very weird.
But seriously, this is where I have a problem, and I know it's a joke, but being an older person, having a lot of things going on, I lose track of storylines and stuff, especially when it's like month to month, and then I lose track and I have to jump back in. So I love the trade back paperbacks when that happens, but then those don't always collect every single thing.
Dude, that's getting very obnoxious because it's like you'll see a one shot come out,
yeah,
and you're like, okay, well, it's part of this event. I'll just wait for this, and then they'll do like just the main book. Then you have to wait 6 months for a hardcover where they'll include one of the issues but not the other stuff. Then you get like an absolute edition or an omnibus. You buy that, and then 6 months later they have a paperback version of that for $50, and it's like, why is it so hard to just read these things?
Seriously,
why make art enjoyable and accessible when they can make it expensive and confusing?
Truly ridiculous.
It said the kid who can remember everything, so he doesn't have this problem.
Yeah, I know. What were we talking about?
What? Where am I?
I think we're on The Little Pony. That was a great book.
Well, actually, that would be part of the Hasbro verse, so I wonder if that'll get included in
I'm not
the thing
joking.
I was about to bring up.
I said that as a joke, but My Little Pony was actually a really good book.
The comic?
Yeah, from IDW. It was good stuff.
Well, with that, we're talking about Void Rivals,
Nice.
which is the beginning of what is now like a new shared Hasbro universe with Transformers, G.I. Joe, and I don't know if he bought the rights to My Little Pony, but that would go right along with Hasbro. This stuff is out.
You must destroy the Decepticons.
Yep.
Are Care Bears Hasbro? Because what if you had like a Care Bear My Little Pony war?
That'd be messed up.
Yeah, I want it messed up. These guys need to be doing that. But this is so good. If you're a Transformers fan, you need to be reading this book. This is by Daniel Warren Johnson. He did Wonder Woman, Dead Earth. He did Murder Falcon. He's a really cool artist. He's a really great writer. And now he's doing Transformers. And this first volume is so brutal. Like, I love this.
That's what it's about.
Love.
Age appropriate. What are we looking at here? And I ask because one year they did Voltron for Free Comic Book Day. And you can see James's smile. He knows where I'm going with this. And I just like, oh yeah, Voltron.
He remembers.
I let James read it. And then Allison was like, have you read this? I'm like, no, why? And it was like violence, sex. And I'm like, oh my God, no, I just assumed. So with the Transformers, what kind of age are we looking at?
Well, here he is. Starscream is siphoning power from a power plant, right? And he is yet to see a human. And he's like, "Oh, are you the little creatures that live in this place?" And then says they're so squishy.
So I would say,
oh, hold on. And then there's another one
PG-13.
where someone is injured. No, well, hold on. Not major plot lines blown away, but somebody gets injured, and Optimus takes them to a hospital. And Starscream is like, "You took them to a place where they fix like the squid." He calls them the squishy ones because they're soft and squishy. And he's like, "What if I blew up the entire hospital?" So, yeah, this is brutal, but it's great. So I would suggest picking this up. This leads into a bunch of G.I. Joe miniseries that are now in trade, and they just launched G.I. Joe #1, which is a good jumping on point. So I would check out all of those suggestions I just suggested.
And where would you go to get those if you happen to live in Las Vegas, Nevada?
If I happen to live in Las Vegas, Nevada, I would go to Maximum Comics, Southwest.
Make my mention.
And to be honest with you, the whole staff is outstanding. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have known about things like this. So if you're ever in there, ask for some suggestions. They got a ton of them. But yeah, that is where I would go if, hypothetically, we lived in Las Vegas, Nevada.
And honestly, guys, if you've never been into a comic book store or you've been into the traditional comic book store, and you walk in and everybody ignores you because they don't know you or they make you feel uncomfortable. Maximum is the exact opposite. You walk in and it's almost like Cheers. You've been there forever and everybody knows you, even though they don't. And they just want to talk to you. They just want to be nerd outing. And it's just awesome. Everybody is welcome at Maximum. It's so cool.
Even James. James is welcome at Maximum.
James has been in there too. He hasn't been kicked out yet. I'm waiting.
Not yet.
Back wall banned.
I've been kicked out a few times, but I just keep
apparently my opinions on Ben Riley aren't enough to get me kicked out.
Jay does have a soft spot.
Customer's always right, I guess.
Love you, Brandon. Well, no, there's two parts of that. They omit the second part. It's like the customer's always right. It's a full phrase. That's only the first half. Oh yes, the customer's always right in matters of taste.
Are you doing a bit or are we done?
I think we're done here.
Brandon, he's
all right. Well,
outro. Perfect.
Let us know what you guys are reading.